King County has 39 cities and 2.3 million people. It is an unusual government nationally because of the mix of authorities or responsibilities we have. Regional responsibilities like transit, wastewater treatment, public health, public safety, and more. Local responsibilities like roads or permitting or the local sheriff in that incorporated area, and then contract responsibilities. So the sheriff is also the contract police department for many cities, district courts, contract with cities, etc. This mix of services is extremely complex. We have on the order of 17,000 employees to carry this out. I want to tell you a little bit about the budget. We used to do that very quickly because we're in the process of adopting, creating, and ultimately having the council adopt a 2025 budget. Normally we do a biennial budget. We're adjusting the cycles so that the budgets are lined up with the new practice of electing council members in the executive in even-numbered years. That starts this coming year. So why don't we just skip through all these. Get to the first big circle. $16 billion every 2 years, next big circle. The general fund is almost $2.5 billion, and I keep going to the next big circle. This one shows the general fund minus the contract services. So this is just the county's money the county decides how to use. And when I say decide, I don't really mean it, because most of it's mandated by state law. About 3/4 of that is, keep going. About 3/4 of that is law enforcement, courts, jails, prosecutor, defender, mandated by the state. It leaves very little. In fact, a bunch of the general government, which you can't see from here, but it's one of the only other significant wedges, is also in the criminal legal system arena. Things like diversion programs or courthouse navigators, all of those programs that are technically optional, but we still want to provide. Keep going. So here is the punchline. This is property taxes for the general fund over the course of the last 20 years. The legislature reenacted a Tim Eyman initiative that was declared unconstitutional 20 years ago. And every year since then, our revenue's been falling behind inflation and population growth. The top line is what inflation and population growth would have had our property tax revenues be. The bottom line is what they actually are. We are about $400 million below inflation and population growth in that time. It's cut the purchasing power from our property tax almost exactly in half over 20 years. That's where the budget problem comes from. Every year we go to the legislature to ask for help. Joe Fitzgibbon tries to help us out, and others do, but they can never quite get across the finish line to account for inflation. So I'm going to leave that there. That is the entire budget in 2 minutes. Homelessness. So there are an estimated 10,000 unsheltered homeless people in King County, thousands more in shelter and elsewhere. It's those who are the most vulnerable are the people who lose out in the competition for housing. We have less housing than we have people who need to be housed. We have a tremendous lack of affordable housing in particular. The King County Council did pass my Health Through Housing measure a few years ago. That is the one where we create out of hotels and other facilities permanent supportive housing. We now have over 1,350 units of that Health Through Housing to help people get back on their feet. We're also continuing to work with the Regional Homeless Authority to take on unsheltered homelessness and help people who are in the streets suffering today. I know there are folks who are interested in the actions we're taking in Burien. I'm going to say this definitively. We did not establish the encampment at the district court parking lot in Burien. People are homeless in Burien. Homeless people on the streets of Burien came to that site. We were confronted with the choice of kicking them out and having them go back to the streets in Burien, or trying to figure out how to get them housed. We put up a fence to make sure that we still had space in the parking lot for our employees and protect the wetland next door. Burien City Manager asked us to get sanitation hand washing stations and porta potties, which we did. It was a sensible request. It's not our homeless encampment, but what we are doing is contracting. We provided funding to the Regional Homeless Authority, and they contracted with REACH, a human services organization, which is out there right now, constructing a by name list of everyone who's there, identifying housing units or shelter beds one at a time, and moving people to a more appropriate spot. It's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. At that point, they can remove the fences and restore the site. That is the humane way to do it.
Yes, it is.
It's a sensible way to do it, and it is the necessary way to do it. Over a year ago, we provided Burien at their request with help with homelessness. They asked for help. We gave them $1 million and 35 newly constructed tiny homes, pallet shelters. Over the course of more than a year, they did not use the $1 million, and they did not cite the tiny homes. But they did complain a lot and blame us for the fact that homelessness was a challenge in Burien. I am here to tell you that the way we're approaching this site, which is not pleasant, but is necessary and difficult, is the same way that we need to approach these challenges everywhere. Every person needs to be accorded dignity. Every person needs to be given an opportunity to get back into housing. We need to do what we can to help every person get back on their feet. And that does not mean that they are all equally without fault for their circumstance, but it is the right thing to do. Thank you. There is a parallel challenge going on right now with asylees, people coming here from other countries who are unable to be housed because of the same housing shortage in our region. Many have settled temporarily in Tukwila. The city of Tukwila has been heroic in stepping up to help those people. It is well beyond their means as a city. We gave them $2 million to help them house folks. We're doing the same thing in Kent. There's an encampment of folks in Kent who are asylees, who are seeking asylum. We're working, as we are in Burien, with a nonprofit organization to house each of those people. Starting with the families with children, with pregnant women, with other vulnerable people, and working our way through until everybody is safely housed and we can remove the fences from that site. The county, at the same time, has housed 500 asylees ourselves in hotels and other facilities, and we're continuing to house them. All of this is leading to a transition to state operation of this refugee and asylee challenge. Thank you to the state legislature for appropriating $25 million to get the state started on the path to humane treatment for asylees. Thank you. Quickly on to behavioral health. In 2020, people of King County overwhelmingly approved the Crisis Care Centers levy. We all know that there are behavioral health challenges out there. We've talked about some of them. There's addiction. There's increasing mental health challenges, particularly after COVID. And this evidences itself in our jails, in our emergency rooms, and on the streets, but also in every community. People suffering quietly in homes in every community in this county, rich and poor, large and small. Crisis Care Centers levy does 3 things. It builds 5 new emergency centers for people in crisis across the county, one exclusively for youth. We opened one in Kent already, thanks to our Northeast cities who stepped up. Kirkland, not Kent. One of the K cities, not Kenmore either, although they participated in this. We restore the community-based long-term treatment beds that we've been losing over the course of years. We had over 300. We're down to 244. We're going to be building back the number of those beds. And finally, we recruit, we train, we retain the behavioral health workforce because it takes people to treat people. I just finished chairing a National Commission on Mental Health and Well-Being for the National Association of Counties. We've been lobbying Congress, federal agencies to help. Our final report really rolls up a lot of the work that's happening at the county level, because as the federal government backed away and state governments backed away from this responsibility, it ended up in the laps of counties. And so we're the ones facing the challenge, we're the ones innovating, we're the ones identifying the problems, creating solutions. And this report is sharing those solutions across the country. All of those problems are big problems, but now I'm going to talk about climate. Yeah. So really exciting work going on in King County right now. I established the Executive Climate Office. We are having great success in areas like electrifying or decarbonizing the transportation sector. Metro's on track to be zero emission by 2035. We're building out the light rail system. I'm also the chair of the Sound Transit Board. But the built environment's a bigger challenge. We competed for and we won an EPA grant for $50 million to help transform the built environment. So that's going to do things like help low-income homeowners transform their heating from gas or oil to electric heat pumps. It's going to help us with new construction. It's going to help us with community-based care homes that couldn't possibly have the money to make those conversions. This is the hard work we're going to have to do across hundreds of thousands, millions of buildings, if we're going to break our dependence on fossil fuels. A few more good news items, and then I will sit down and I will just sort of check these off. Doors open, nearly $100 million for arts, heritage, and culture. I've been working on this for years and years. The council adopted it, and the grant proposals are going out now. Transit updates. Metro next month adds 153,000 bus hours. We are building back from the retreat of COVID. And meanwhile, we're opening the Rapid Ride G line on Madison Street. And of course, in other transit news, in a couple of weeks, we will be opening Linwood Link, light rail into another county for the first time, connecting to Shoreline, Malik Terrace, and Linwood. That's a very, very big deal. We are, let's see, transit as well is our responsibility as a police agency. The sheriff is Metro Transit Police, the sheriff is Sound Transit Police. I approved a Safe Transit, what's it called?
Operation Safe Transit.
Operation Safe Transit, which started in early May. Our folks are intervening when people are acting out in transit. They're trying to get them to the right help, or if necessary, to detention, in order to make sure that the transit systems, bus and rail, are safe for everyone. As part of that, and along with the city of Seattle, we have launched into an effort in downtown Seattle to deal with the people who are selling drugs, particularly fentanyl, in and around transit stations, bus stops, and light rail stations. And I will let our law enforcement professionals brief you a bit more on that in just a second if we have time. But it is coming to a head here immediately, and this is an opportunity for us to help Seattle do the work of really turning the corner on the street environment in our center city. I wanted to make mention of two more things. I'm going to let Leon get up and say just like 2 seconds by way of introduction. Leon Richardson is kind of your city manager for unincorporated King County. So if you're from Vashon or White Center, he's the guy you're going to call. He runs the Department of Local Services, and I just appointed him to replace that guy, John Taylor, who took over the Department of Natural Resources and Parks. The most relieved guy in the room. And finally, our civic campus plan. You might have read about it in the Times this weekend. The county has a vast tract of woefully underutilized land in downtown Seattle, around the courthouse, around our office buildings, around the old jail. I have proposed, and we are building up the opportunity to transform that entire area into a new neighborhood. Under even the current zoning accommodating on the order of 5,000 housing units immediately adjacent to high-capacity transit, with amenities for the people who live there, stores and cafes, places to gather, with safe public spaces that are well designed from the start. Getting the value out of that land that's currently stuck underneath old, underused buildings and using it for the benefit of downtown Seattle and the taxpayers of King County. It is a big, audacious project that is in contrast to doing nothing, which is not an option, or just selling it off, which will get us a lot more mediocrity. So, this is what I'm putting a lot of my effort into right now. I wanted Leon just to get up and kind of show everybody who you are so they can get a hold of you later. Here you go.
That's it.
Come tell them about yourself.
Good evening, everybody. Leon Richardson, happy to be here. So afterwards, feel free to come up to me. I've been with the county for about 5.5 years. Previously, I was working in the Department of Community and Human Services, the Adult Services Division. So spent a lot of time out on Vashon and the unincorporated parts of King County, largely working human service efforts. I'm also an Army veteran, still currently serving in the Army Reserves as a Lieutenant Colonel, Battalion Commander there. Very passionate about serving the community, and the Department of Local Services is the local government for unincorporated parts of King County. So I'll be hanging out in the back and on the side, so if you have any questions, feel free to come up to me.
Okay, great. I don't want to put you on the spot, Sheriff or Undersheriff, but if you could come quickly describe to folks the work that we've been doing to help our friends across the street in the city of Seattle with some of the challenges downtown.
Thank you, Executive. So just briefly, starting May 1st, we started Operation Safe Transit with the purpose of making our transit lines safer. Also, people coming back to work, tourists, people should be able to ride public safety or public transit without feeling concern that somebody is going to harm them or blow fentanyl smoke in their face. So we started this effort, and to date, we've made a little shy of 90 arrests. Some of those are on view. Those are where the deputies actually see the action. The others are calls for service. So somebody calling 911 and then us responding to the call. So this effort, we've been booking people into the jail. So we worked with the jail staff to say that we needed the ability to book people. The executive made that happen for us. So we have been booking people into the King County Jail. And we are working in partnership with the City of Seattle. So that is important to note that, as the executive stated earlier, the transit line is within the City of Seattle. We have jurisdiction along that line, but we do need to work in partnership with our law enforcement friends across the street. So I'll turn it over to you if there's anything you want to add.
I think you covered most of it. I'll just add that this is also utilizing co-response teams too, having MHPs out there. Department of Community and Human Services is assisting with that. So we're making the arrest kind of that traditional approach. It needs to happen. There needs to be accountability, but also recognizing that there's people out there that need services, right? So we're out there working with co-response teams, and it's working great, right? It's a beautiful relationship to have, to be able to rely on those professionals to support us and for us to support them to figure out what are the best needs for those community members. So I just wanted to add that, so thank you.
One last thing, the presence is a deterrence. The officers are seeing people's behavior change. So thank you, Executive, and we're really going to be continuing this effort so our community members can feel safe riding transit. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to roam around. So we have about 15 minutes for questions. Given the number of questions we may have, I will limit it to one question per person. But raise your hand if you have a, yeah.
Dave Warren from Vashon Island, the most beautiful place on earth. You're probably familiar with Entre Hermanos, the nonprofit that provides critical legal services and medical services to members of the Latino community, particularly immigrants, many of them here seeking asylum, many of them transgender who would be probably murdered if they were returned to their home country. They were informed yesterday or today by somebody at the county that they're not going to get the $800,000 grant that they've been relying on. And I think it's just a technical problem, but if you'd be willing to use your, shall we say, influence to look into that and see if it could be fixed, I'd be grateful. And I don't know how to turn this into a question. Will you do that?
Thank you, David. I just received an email about this today. We are absolutely doing some follow-up, and we'll keep you and the community posted on what happens next. Yeah. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right.
Best Starts for Kids. First of all, thank you, thank you, thank you. And where are we going from here, given the fact that our illustrious city council just violated the promise to Seattle's youth for mental health?
So Best Starts for Kids is a program.
Just Mike, can I use this one again? Best Starts for Kids is a measure that you all approved, and it is really focused on the proposition that we need to invest early to make sure that kids have healthy growth, and that if they are running into trouble, that we're able to address those little problems before they become life-defining crises, right? We see the results of early neglect and abuse all the time in the criminal legal system and elsewhere, and I just realized that it's penny wise and pound foolish not to invest in our youngest residents. Although I don't know exactly because, and you'll forgive me, I don't follow every move of the Seattle City Council. I do know that people understand the importance of this, and so when we are talking about challenges like homelessness, like behavioral health, like criminal legal system involvement, everything goes, if you look at the path that everyone has taken, everything goes back to challenges that could have been addressed early on. Whether parents are struggling, whether a kid was born with a developmental challenge, for example, whether there are early signs of mental health challenges, or just a kid needs to be surrounded with a more supportive environment in order to avoid bad influences. We are in a position to help with that. We're going to keep building the work in Best Starts for Kids. It, like the program that I just mentioned, involves a lot of grants that are awarded on the basis of evaluation and merit, and sometimes great programs end up not getting as much as they wanted to because some other program showed that it could be more effective. That's one of the real challenges here, is making sure that we are always pressing ourselves to continuously improve, to understand the results that we're getting and not just the amount we're putting in, and to continue to try to do better. I would love to talk to you, Leslie, later about the Seattle issue. I'm unfamiliar with it, but the way you're shaking your head, it sounds like it won't be for long.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jackie Mena, and I was just curious. I'm really excited about the downtown work that you announced. I've read articles on it. I've spoken to King County staff, and it's a really exciting project. But I'm curious, is that also inspiring the county to look at other surplus properties across your property portfolio and thinking about other urban spaces that could potentially use some affordable housing, affordable commercial, affordable nonprofit space? As I said earlier in the meeting, I live in unincorporated King County, would love to see more investments there as well.
That is a really good question. There's always a demand for this vacant county property that everyone thinks exists, but that doesn't really. A lot of what's happened in the middle of downtown Seattle has become much more evident with COVID and with so many workers now working hybrid or remotely. We've closed an entire office building in the middle of that space. So it's really made it more urgent that we move on that. But there are places where we can develop or redevelop. For example, we've had a vacant warehouse on Harbor Island for a couple decades, the old Fisher Flour Mill. And we undertook a couple years ago, to start converting that into sound stages to help bring the film industry back to our community. We have hundreds, maybe thousands of people who are filmmakers or people in the creative arts who have to travel great distances to other states or other countries to do their work because we let the film industry be stolen by Vancouver and Portland and Georgia, maybe in Georgia. And it is an enormously helpful business for economic development and the creation of jobs. So we're working to have a very low barrier facility for people to come make films, make videos, make commercials, and bring that industry back. Each opportunity is unique, each place is unique. And so we're always looking for the right fit for a piece of county property before we simply do, again, the kind of lowest common denominator thing, surplusing it and selling it off to developers. Others?
Not really a question, but it sounds like the questions are being used up. I just wanted to pass along to the sheriff and to you, executive, from my friends in Burien, my progressive friends in Burien, that are very, very appreciative for what you guys are doing to support what's going on there. Thank you.
Yeah, I know they're there, but this is just part of the deal these days. It's it is the blame game. It is the politics of vilification and personal destruction. But the fact is, the only way we can get things done, particularly in a state that has such a diffuse governance model, over 1,000 elected officials in King County alone, is by working together. Right? So whenever we have an opportunity, whether it's with Seattle on this project, whether it's with most of our cities on, we've just broached with them the idea of coming up with a uniform policy, or rather ordinance on homelessness, so that we can have uniform ways of addressing homeless folks across all the jurisdictions. You don't have jurisdictions chasing people from one place and back to another. Any of those efforts require adults in the room. They require the temperature to be lowered and people's ears to be open. And when that happens, we can accomplish great things, and we do over and over again.
Okay, this will be the last question.
Okay, sure.
Hi.
Hi, are you new to the 34th District?
I've been here for a few years. I'm not that old.
Yeah, Ann was in the room the first day I walked in the door at Southwest Community Center to the meeting.
I just wondered if you could comment on the importance of some national elections that are going on to support of what you're trying to do in King County.
Yeah, this is actually really important. This is not just about me wanting our team to win, right? During the Obama administration, we were able to work hand in hand with the administration to accomplish a lot. We took on veterans homelessness, drove it way down, because we had the same policy goals, and they were able to bring the resources, and we were able to bring boots on the ground. When that other guy got into office, he who shall not be named, it all went away. Everything they did was trying to undermine and sabotage what we were doing. As soon as Biden and Harris got into office, it turned around again. And as that administration has matured, we have had a closer and deeper working relationship with them. It is so important, not just for blue cities and counties, but for metropolitan regions across the country, to have a president who really understands the challenges, the complex challenges we face in the 21st century, and has the political skill to bring the power of the federal government to bear on joining with us, not imposing on us, but joining with us to fix those challenges. I am absolutely confident that Kamala Harris is a person who is going to follow in that tradition, a person who understands the challenges we face, a person who will bring her brilliance and her creativity to joining with us, to learning the lessons that, as in our behavioral health work, we are learning at the local level, and to figuring out how to use the power of the federal government to lift us all up again. It is an exciting moment for the Democratic Party and for America. I'm going to be spending my fall out there raising money and doing anything else I can to elect this next great president, and I know you will too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's give a warm thank you to